Welcome to our summer series on how to apply our faith into our lives. I'm Sophia, and as teenagers, we are navigating through this period about learning about ourselves, the world, and most importantly, our faith. Today, we'll be discussing friendship. We're going to be looking at a variety of different types of friendships in the Bible and discuss what we can learn from them.
So, the first story we're going to be looking at today in the Bible is the story of David and Jonathan, probably one of the most famous friendship stories in the Bible. And for those of you that don't know, pretty much David was the new guy. He was the hot shot. He showed up. And then Jonathan was the son of King Saul. So to anyone who doesn't really know the story, you should be seeing that and going, wait, these guys should be competing, right? To see who's going to be next for the crown. But the opposite actually happened, and they became great friends that we can now look at as an example. So the first passage we're going to be looking at is from 1 Samuel 18, verses 1 to 5, and it says this. As soon as he had finished speaking to Saul, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. And Saul took him that day and would not let him return to his father's house. Then Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was on him and gave it to David, and his armor, and even his sword, his bow, and his belt. And David went out and was successful wherever Saul sent him, so that Saul sent him over the men of war. And this was good in the sight of all people and also in the sight of Saul's servants. Pretty much what we can learn from this passage is that good friends will give up things for each other if it means that they will help the other person. Now, moving on in the story, something crazy happens. David starts getting so good that King Saul wants to actually kill him. What happens is Jonathan actually warns David, so David is able to escape and get away and hide from King Saul. Here in this passage, 1 Samuel 20, verse 42, Jonathan said to David, "Go in peace, for we have sworn friendship with each other in the name of the Lord, saying, 'The Lord is witness between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever.'" Then David left, and Jonathan went back to the town. These were their final words for each other. So, after this long period of time of being good friends, finally Jonathan's dad wanted to kill David, but Jonathan was so loyal to his friend David that he helped him escape and flee, and those were their final words for each other. Now, the funny thing is, David was so loyal to his friendship with Jonathan that way down the line, even after Jonathan had passed away, he went out of his way to find any descendants of Jonathan and help them out by giving them a place at the royal table. Now that is some good loyalty.
Another story of loyalty is the friendship between Naomi and Ruth. Despite their difference in age and how they were not blood related, the two were able to care for each other and persevere through their difficult situation together. Ruth was the wife of one of Naomi's sons, and their entire family moved to Moab, as life was difficult and they did not have much money. When Naomi's husband and both of her sons passed away, she told her daughter-in-laws to return back home to their own mother's homes, as Naomi was returning to Bethlehem by herself. But Ruth clung to her mother-in-law, and this is what she said, found in Ruth chapter 1, verses 16 to 18. But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me." When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. Naomi and Ruth's friendship shows us that loyalty extends past blood relation, and that once you get to know a friend, you're able to take care of each other even when things get tough. Ruth wanted to move on with Naomi even when she was told to go home, but together they persevered through their difficult situation. Sometimes you or your friend may be going through a difficult time, and it seems like it is testing your friendship. But it is so important to support each other and care for each other during that difficult time. The good you will do to your friend will come back to you and bless your own life as well. Loyalty is so important in your friendship, and it does not matter what the age difference is or if you're related by blood. Another example of friendship that can be found in the Bible is the relationship between Moses and his brother Aaron. Although the two were separated during Moses' time at the palace, Aaron did not hesitate to help Moses out when asked. When God spoke to Moses through the burning bush and told him to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, Moses was afraid because he believed he did not speak well. In Exodus chapter 4, verses 14 to 16, God responded to Moses with, "What about your brother, Aaron the Levite? I know he can speak well. He is already on his way to meet you, and he will be glad to see you. You shall speak to him and put words in his mouth. I will help both of you speak, and will teach you what to do. He will speak to the people for you, and it will be as if he were your mouth, and as if you were God to him." God knew that Moses did not feel confident in his speaking abilities. That is why he used his brother Aaron to help spread his message. Despite their relationship as brothers, they were also good friends. Good friends are able to help each other and fill in the spots that you may feel like you're lacking in. When we feel like we are unable to complete a task, it is important to lean on others for support and work together with them. Moses and Aaron's relationship showed us that by working together, you were able to accomplish great things. Their cooperation allowed them to lead the Israelites out of Egypt and fulfill God's wishes. Good friends are those that work together.
Now, finally, the last biblical example of friendship we're going to be looking at is between Jesus and the disciples. Many people seem to think that disciples were kind of just like Jesus' servants or people that followed around like his posse. But actually, Jesus says here in John 15, verses 15 to 17, "I no longer call you servants, because the servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I learned from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last. And so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give to you. This is my command. Love each other." Now, similarly to the story of David and Jonathan, where Jonathan gave his robe and all of his gear over to David so that he could go out and fight and be successful, Jesus says the same thing about humbling ourselves and kind of dropping our egos so that we can really love our friends and show our friends God's love. This is all about humility and being a servant. That's what I believe is the biggest thing that we can learn from Jesus about being a friend. Now here in John 13 verses 4 to 10 and then also 12 to 17, it says, "So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began washing his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, 'Lord, are you going to wash my feet?' Jesus replied, 'You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand.' 'No,' said Peter, 'you shall never wash my feet.' And Jesus answered, 'Unless I wash you, you have no part with me.' 'Then, Lord,' Simon Peter said, 'not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well.' Jesus answered, 'Those who have a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean, and you are clean, though not every one of you.' And then later on at verse 12 it says this, 'When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. 'Do you understand what I have done for you?' he asked them. 'You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash one another's feet. I've set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." Jesus, God in human form, humbled himself to the level of being a servant and washing his disciples' feet to be an example for all of us to look at and say, hey, how can I help out my friends? How can I hold my friends higher than I hold myself and help them to see them succeed and go on the path they want to go? Think about that and think about Jesus as an example. So, to close off today's little lesson, here are the 3 points that we can take from all the examples that we looked at today. Good friends are loyal, good friends work together, and good friends are servants. Thank you guys for watching this video, and we'll see you next week.